Do more by doing less. With me, Charles Alexander, for small business owners, startups, and busy folks.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
Clark, it's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
It is easier than ever before to have the machine do some of your work. I couldn't tell you the number of people that I have coached over the years that just use the excuse nonstop. Well, I'm just not good at the computer. And I can always tell when they say the in front of computer, and by the way, computers become an old term, that they're in trouble. Now, when I started doing a lot of coaching in 05, 06, 07, I got it a little bit. But even then, that was still an excuse to make. But people would hide behind it, especially if you were, closer to retirement than not. You wanted to opt out, and I get it, whatever. But a lot of folks now, many, many years later, mid 2020s are still using that excuse. That is not an option. And I know people can make every dire prediction of thinking that we're going to belong in the Matrix, Wall-E, or Maximum Overdrive. Great movie, Emilio Estevez, highly underrated back then. Look, I get it. I get there's some issues with it. But don't let that be an excuse to you using automation to make your life easier. Think of it this way. The tool is there. Would you rather spend more time doing tasks that could be automated or more time with your family? Would you be willing to walk in to see your family and say, hey, I took a stand against the machine today, so I won't be going on that walkway all scheduled later. I won't be making that vacation. I won't be eating dinner with you. I am sticking it to the Matrix. They're not going to be cool with that. I hear this argument. Bless his heart, my father-in-law still refuses to use the automated checkout at Kroger. Pawpaw, that's the way we call him. Fantastic name. Pawpaw, why don't you use the automated checkout? That's somebody's job right there. Somebody else could be doing that. All these machines, my dad used to be the same way. And they might both gotten over it by now. Well, I get that. However, if a machine can do it, then technically, guess what? It's not somebody else's job. And we can't use the excuse that we've taken someone's job because the unemployment rate is historically low. And people complain all the time about not being able to find employees. So if a machine can do it and an employee's not willing, fantastic. Technology, yay. That'd be like saying, I don't want to drive one of those newfangled things on the road because that's going to put the horse trainer and the buggy maker out of business. We're going to survive when we keep advancing over and over. And I remember as a kid, one of the very first technology things that I understood that would make my life easier growing up out in the country was eating homemade ice cream. And for years, our family was tradition, especially when snow fell. We loved to make snow cream. Not yellow snow. Don't do that. So we would get all the snow together and the rock salt and the cream and the sugar and put it all in this bucket. And we would take turns cranking it, hand cranking it, old school. And it would take hours and hours and would pour through every member of the family, just hand cranking this ice cream. And by the time it got to the end of the day, it was my turn. And sometimes since I was the youngest, I'd have two turns. And if I had two turns, you better believe that second round of ice cream, if somebody better be watching me crank it. And a lot of times I'd crank it for a little bit, I'd take a break, crank it for a little bit, quit. And then we'd try to, all right, we've cranked ice cream for X number of hours. Let's see what we got. And more times than not, we had like ice cream soup. We had a milkshake, but didn't even have the good consistency. And everybody would claim they'd cranked it all day. And I knew I hadn't. So one day my dad comes home with this automatic ice cream machine. It cranks all by itself, which really wasn't that big of a technology advance because things cranked on its own all the time. But to me, we were living in the future. And that's something that's just hard for a lot of people to grasp right now. So delayed long enough. Here's some things you should be looking at when you go develop your tech stack, which is an overused term. But if you're going to start outsourcing some stuff, we need to look at a few things before we just start randomly picking. First, make sure you know what your actual needs are before you're making any concrete decisions on what exactly you should be using. Try to figure out if you're going in for convenience or if this has got to be a tool for collaboration or if it's a tool for communication or how much you're going to use it. Second one, really important. Does it play nice with others? Integration. I'll go over a few tools I use in a minute, but that was the top thing I looked for. It wasn't the best software necessarily. I just needed it. I'm a big Gmail user. If it doesn't work with Gmail or Google Docs, or I say Google Docs Drive, I'm out. It's got to tie in seamlessly with all of those. And then you got to look at your budget. There's a ton of free versions out there, and I do love free, but you might have to pay for a few of these. And in paying for those, it ends up being like the television subscriptions. I have people now that tell me, I haven't had cable in years. Me personally, I haven't had cable in, like 12 years, but I have narrowed down my subscriptions to like Netflix and Hulu. I got friends that have 50. They have every subscription known to mankind. They're paying more now for non-cable than they ever paid for cable. So consider your budget. Those three things. And then a bonus, security. And yes, it's everybody wants your data and everybody's willing to steal it. And I'm bad about this. I use Google login for everything, which is probably not a great idea. So let's consider, what are some tools that you should be using? Simple stuff, cloud storage. How about that? And I know a lot of you, I'm surprised a lot of people still keep everything on a laptop, or let's say even on a server. That does not work, especially if you have a team of people. If you've got, if it's just contractors, I have contractors that work for me, and I've given them select access to Google Drive. I can think years ago when I was a software trainer. I worked both for a Fortune 500 at Terminex and the largest franchisor in the country for ServPro, and I would train people on how to use their software. And there were so many of them that would not share data. Now, granted, back then it was a little more difficult, but they were getting into a point where they had a common server, and they would just still save things on their local laptop only, and it caused chaos throughout the business. We don't have to do that anymore. Put things on a cloud drive where other people can access it. Keep it nice and neat, and your life automatically will get easier just doing that. Simple things where I see people work on a slide deck. It's maddening. Oh, we worked on a slide deck, then I sent it to Susie, and then she worked on it, and then she sent it back to me, and then she fixed the one on her machine, but I didn't have it yet, so we have two different versions. Quit doing that. Next, number 2, content creation. And there's a million and one tools. So when we're talking about content creation, number one thing everybody always talks about is using Canva, which is a great tool for posts and pictures and headers. And there's a ton of other cool tools that can create your own pictures for you. Canva can create pictures out of the thin blue sky. Midjourney can do it. There's a ton of others that I'm not even going to try to cover. Content creation, for example, in this case, how about some video? You can use a ton of different tools. I use Descript to create video. I record on StreamYard because it's easy. I also record on Descript, but it does all the cool things. It'll create automatic transcriptions. You can use a couple of buttons here and there to remove the filler words, because apparently I say all the time, and it'll remove some of the spacing in the audio itself. If you had these long pregnant pauses, or like I tend to cough during podcasts for some reason, it's easy to remove those. Chat GPT, which I know people are tired of talking about under content creation, until it's dethroned, it's the one to use. I know Jasper is out there, and there's I forget the Google name one that everybody, you can start using it. It doesn't matter. The point is, when you get ready to create those bits of content, if you create a video, and I love to tell people, create video, answer the questions that are most commonly asked, use stories. I love stories. And then have it transcribed, and then have the AI tools make posts out of it, make longer articles out of it. And you should always come back and tweak it and edit it to make it right. And then there's tools to take the longer videos, and that will chop them down for you. There's Opus.pro, video.ai. It'll make reels. It'll make square videos, and it's smart enough to go in and just figure out what the best stuff is that you had to say, and you didn't have to create any of it. So that's 1 and 2. Put it on a storage somewhere where your team can access it, create some content, and then don't spend all day in front of the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, insert whatever you're using here. Schedule out some of your content for later. Schedule out, let's say, for social media. I still use Buffer. Metricool is one of the top tools as well. Hootsuite still used, and a ton of others. You should have a couple hours, a half day or so, where you've created all of this content, and then you can Schedule all of it instead of having to post it individually each and every day. And yeah, I know there's some exceptions to the rules for doing that, but it's a lot easier than ever before. And even on Instagram with reels and stories, it can be done automatically. And if you listen to the episode on outsourcing, in a lot of these cases, you just can record some stuff, hire the right person. If you gave them access to your Google Drive, and they can come in and they can create all of the content for you. You get still review it, tweak it, edit it. They can schedule it for you, and off you go. Then number 4, I know this is an odd thing to say about automation, but man, a lot of people don't really have good, clear websites at this point. It's part of the automation world. I use Squarespace. It's kind of idiot proof. Wix falls along the same lines. And I know a lot of people still will want to create their own from scratch, outsource it. That's fine. But find tools that integrate with these. Squarespace has a ton that will integrate with it, such as, let's say, PayPal or Calendly. And of course, there's always not old school, but WordPress. And it still has all of the plugins for all the stuff and all the things. So number 5, email marketing should be part of what you're doing. It's easy to automate. It's easy to create. You're taking all of that content you created, you put it in cloud storage. You already scheduled some of it out. You posted it on your website. Now you don't have to reinvent the wheel with your email marketing. I used to use Active Campaign, and it is a amazing tool. It has all the bells, all the whistles, and it can do all the things. And then they doubled the price one day, and it didn't meet, for my needs, I didn't need that anymore. I'm using one you probably haven't heard of, Email Octopus. It's kind of a bare bones basics, but it's for the price, man. It is awesome and easy to use too. There's still always MailChimp and Constant Contact. For scheduling, do not, please, for the dear love of God, quit going back and forth with people saying, well, what time do you have? Well, how about next week? Well, sign up here. This will make your life so much easier. Use Calendly, Acuity, Schedule Me, Book Me, whatever. I use Calendly. It's super simple, dirt cheap. And the purpose of doing that, especially, even if you have existing clients, I had one I was talking to recently. She designs cabinets, stays busy all the time, but she has people that have tens of thousands of dollars in projects, and they have instant access to her, unfortunately. And they will text her in the middle of the night. She was telling me about how she was answering a text from somebody at 2 a.m. First of all, that's a whole different podcast episode. Don't do that. But she was doing it because she gave them instant access. She doesn't know what else to do. Suggestion to her was, don't do that anymore. If they have to tell you something, well, first of all, no email, no texting. We'll talk about a project management tool here in a minute, but tell them you only speak, we're only going to do this through Trello or Asana. Post your message there. I'll get back to it within 24 hours. If you want to schedule time, talk to me. Awesome. I'm busy with clients all day. Here's my Calendly link. Block a time to talk. That way they're not interrupting your day. And in most of the cases, if it's an existing client and they just have a wild hair to talk about something, it usually goes away too. So that takes care of that issue. Not to mention, if you're talking to potential clients, it looks professional and it's easy to use. And then when you get them on the phone there, you don't have to phone with them. You can video conference with them. Zoom, easy to set up. Google Chat, easy to set up. Like I've said multiple times, I use StreamYard. And it's great for podcasting tools as well, but face-to-face works really well if you're trying to close a sale, if you're trying to understand the emotions of a client and what their issues are. Number 8, get a CRM, folks, a customer relationship management database. I think that's what it stands for. Quit using spreadsheets and Post-it notes. Everybody you talk to that's significant, a client, a vendor, a potential client, put them into a contact management system so it's easy to figure out what the conversation was last. You can schedule to chat with them. You can integrate it with your Google Calendar, and it makes your life so much easier. I use Pipedrive. It plays really well with Gmail and Asana. Asana being the project management tool I'm going to tell you about right now. Number 9, project management. Project management tools make your life easier because, again, you're trying to keep up with everything in a spreadsheet, on paper. A project management tool will allow you to, once you outsource something, got a whole podcast episode on that, outsource something to somebody else, give them access to the project management tool, post your SOP in there, the expectations, assign it to them there. Do not go through email. You're spending too much time in email. Assign it to them there, give them a date. You can prioritize it. And then if they have any questions, they'll ask. there. And then if it's tied to your CRM and there's a customer involved, it will update the notes for the customer. If it's tied to your Gmail, and it is, as soon as I get an email possibly from a potential client, I can just pop it right over into my project management database, assign it to the VA to follow up, to create something for them. And then 10, your payment and accounting systems need to be automated. And yes, I know a lot of you like Venmo and, still process checks. I use PayPal, and I know a lot of people have personal opinions about what they like or don't like about PayPal. I get it. We all have a PayPal horror story, but it still works really well. If you don't like it, use Stripe. And it's really simple to post your prices, put them in a simple place. If somebody wants to talk to you, say, here it is right here. It also makes it feel like it's a little less negotiable if you sell things in packages. Well, what about it's $9.99? Well, what if we could do it for $8.99? Here's the package. It's already set up, locked and loaded. I do for the explainer video business, 3 or more videos. It signs somebody up for 3 straight months, and it makes it really easy. And if you're doing it for full-on accounting, use QuickBooks or FreshBooks or something like it and tie it into your checking account, and then make sure your CPA has access to it. That's 10th. You want a little bonus here? And if you ever run into a situation where your tools don't talk to each other, use a program like Zapier or IFTT. And I think IFTT is an old school term for if this, then that type thing. It's like an old DOS or Excel prompt. I use Zapier. So for example, Email Octopus, it's a little obscure. Everything else I've named you is mainstream. So if Email Octopus, if I have entered somebody into, let's say, Pipedrive might not automatically connect with Email Octopus, but I can set up a Zap in Zapier, and it will automatically do it for me. Ton of tools here, ton of different things to look at. Just determine your needs, start off small, try a simple one first. Make sure you got a cloud-based storage that you're using above all else, and then the rest of it falls into play after that. As far as me, can't think of the last time I made homemade ice cream. I think we just buy it all now due to automation. Wait, don't run off just yet. Do me a big favor, hit the little plus sign to subscribe, scroll down wherever you are, and leave a very honest 5-star review and tell other people why they should be listening. And if you don't, an angel may in fact lose its wings. True story. Have a great day.